Hey, everybody, we're here, and I'm pleased to introduce my friend Brenda Grisham, who is colloquially described as the head of the effort to recall Pamela Price, because that's precisely what happened. And she's also the head of SAFE, and
Absolutely.
just a wonderful person to know. And I'm blessed that she candidly called me, which, I, I am so like having to basically beat myself up on the air because I
Mhm.
should have called her. Well, actually, I did reach out to you once before, and you were inundated with the traditional media.
Uh,
Yeah. I'm not going to beat myself up too much.
no, no, I was just calling to check on you.
Thank Yeah, I appreciate
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah.
much appreciated.
You're
And
welcome.
so I say, first of all, personally, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done.
Hard work. Trust me, it was
Yeah.
hard work. 18
And
months of hard work.
so, Mimi, I always like to ask aha moments. When was the aha moment that you knew y'all won?
Oh, the first night. What are you talking about? The first night. And it never changed. It was like, oh my God, people were listening. And then the numbers just went up and up. And, we had 367,000
Whew.
um, votes, which is 153,000 more than said no. And so, another batch is coming out tonight, late sometime today, but it was only like 23,000 votes left. So,
23,000. Okay.
yeah. So, that would determine some of the races, but ours been determined since day one.
Wow. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that was only going to serve some of the races because the margin with some of them is just like,
Oh,
whoa.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always been, 63, 65% to
Right.
30 something percent. So,
Right. So, how does it feel to know that the public heard you?
I mean, it's wonderful to know that they were actually listening to actual facts, despite everything that else that was going on. We were for the people, and they went to the polls and showed that they knew that we were working in their favor.
And who do you want to thank first of all?
Of course, I want to thank my team, Chris, Carl, and Shane. I mean, we worked hours and hours together. And then all of the volunteers, we had a whole lot of volunteers that tirelessly worked, getting signatures and putting out signs, and the families. Oh my goodness, for them to be going through what they were going through, they were there. And I appreciate everything. The sleepless nights, I don't regret any of them, and everybody that played a part. I just really want to thank them.
Any one particular person in particular? Anybody that sticks out, or is it two group of too many to mention? Or
Too many to mention, but my kids. Look, I really thank my kids because my kids, my daughters is like, Mama, I don't think we want you doing this, and they just hung in, and they kept me going as well. Yeah.
and anyone else?
No, God.
Let
That's about
there
it.
there you go.
Yeah.
God, the Lord Jesus Christ,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Of course.
Let's have a little fun and hear what um, now former DA Pamela Price had to say about uh, conceding. Oh, not the commercials.
Of course, the commercial's gonna come on.
Get that. That's
Royal Roberts. Yeah. Yep, that's about right.
all right. So, what do you think of? Well, that's tame because Pamela said some things initially, not during that speech, where
Hmm.
it looked like she was going to play a Trump and not leave, right?
Absolutely. She said she wasn't conceding, and yeah, okay. Okay.
Tell us who haven't seen this stuff. Talk to the people who are going to be seeing this for the first time. Why was it necessary to recall District Attorney Pamela Price from your point of view?
Because for me and for the people that I have been standing up for, the fact that they didn't matter is not what a district attorney's job is. There's supposed to be a balance. And from the beginning, there was never a balance. She came straight out the gate publicizing victims. In the Longwood case, she felt he needed to apologize to the public. Why do he need to apologize to the public? He needs to talk to them families. Um, the David Mish case, I met one of the young lady's mom that he killed. And they're going through trials right now because she took him off of death row and took the enhancements off, and so he could possibly be out soon. Um, so she made herself public, but in her making herself public, it was about the wrong things. And it just went on from there. We've had crime, and we always talk about crime and how we feel that she played a part in the crime. We never had this level of crime. At any given crime scene, you can see anywhere from 15 to 20 shell casings. We didn't have any of that. People getting dragged out of their cars and beat down in broad daylight. People at stop signs and they pulling up and bashing their windows and stealing their purses and things of that nature. That comes from not really caring about the people that you're serving, because apparently was serving the criminals, but then she let him out with nothing. There's no programs, there's no nothing. So what do you think that's going to breed? That's going to breed violence. That's going to breed all kinds of things that we just really weren't used to, because we were never used to this kind of crime. And people say what they say, but they know better. They're just going with what everything else everybody's saying.
And to buttress what Brenda's saying, I'll put this chart up real quick to show you time series of data on Oakland crime rate. There, this is a number of different versions, iterations of it, but the one in the middle I think is the best. And it particularly shows here from a dip until 2019, pre-pandemic, and then 2020 right here, and we go up, and that's 2020, should be 2022, I believe. It was up again.
Mm-hmm.
Homicides, then we went down. And this is 2020, 22, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
But this rise, this pandemic generated rise, is what you're talking about.
Yeah. And you know,
the
people are
homicide. That's the
talking.
homicide rate alone. That has nothing
That's
to
the
do with
homicide. Now, where's the
alone.
crime rate?
Alone, yeah, but it has nothing to do with what could lead to a homicide, like for
Right.
example, robberies, assaults, carjackings, which were good.
Mhm.
14,000 last year,
Yeah.
unheard of, right?
Right.
Unheard of. Normally we would have maybe 500 carjackings. That
Mhm.
statistic alone signaled that it was even dangerous to drive anywhere in Oakland,
Anywhere.
right? Because you
Mhm.
might, if you stop at a light, be the
Stop
victim of a
sign.
stop sign, be the victim of a carjacking.
Yeah.
That's horrifying.
Yeah. You
I
know,
mean,
and if
just,
you would rent a car from the airport, they'll tell you,
yeah,
don't get gas on 73rd. I was like,
see?
are y'all telling people that? And they was like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild stuff that has gone on under her jurisdiction and also under Mayor Tao's jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And so,
It's unfortunate.
but I remember, and I'll say this because I think you're not saying it, but I'll say it because we talked on it before here. Uh, Pamela Price talks about being the first Black district attorney, and she was
Yes.
Alameda County for Alameda County. But what she
Yes.
doesn't talk about is, and this is something this gets to something that you and I were talking about off camera
Mm-hmm.
about how we treat each other.
Right.
We save our worst behavior for each other. Is it?
Yes.
Am I wrong in saying that Pamela Price saved her worst behavior for Black women?
She did. She
I mean,
did.
that's
Yeah.
horrifying.
Yeah. You know, I was on the tail end of it, as well as mothers, in our first initial face to face with her. I have a problem with people who call themselves attacking me for no reason. Threw
Yeah.
me off. And the words she used with those mothers, they were all African American. All the mothers were African American. And the words that she used, which she's never ever denied that she's never denied any of that. Now she'll deny everything else, but it was 13 people in that room. 13, including her staff. And so, it is what it is. I still can't figure that one out because those are the people you should have been rallying around to help you get to where you were trying to go.
Yep.
And she just didn't.
No, she just and I've said it before with respect to me, but I'll say it again that for reasons that I still don't know because I've never met Pamela Price face to face. All right, ever. But she's always had a hostility toward me, which is fine. I'm a public figure, and there are people who are going to have their issues and attitudes about me. But my point is that don't be irrational about it. If it's something that I said, fine. But if it's just because you think I'm whatever, that's ridiculous. In her case, I had requested to her, I wanted to interview her client, Celeste Guap. This
Oh,
woman.
yeah. Uh-huh.
And to my surprise, and she was on Facebook, and I actually sent a note out and a message to her too, and to Pamela. I let Pamela Price know what I was doing.
Uh-huh.
Celeste contacts me. Jasmine is her real name.
Right.
And says, "Hey, when are you going to interview me?"
Uh-huh.
And that, and that's how this came about. Okay, I'm not going to. This is her idea, and I handled it in a way that I'm very proud of because of her age and everything else.
Right.
And then I tried to contact Pamela, and she ignored me. Didn't say a thing, and didn't call back. Didn't say nothing.
Right.
So because there was a lot that she said that my thought was, hey, there's a lot that she said in that interview that you need to know for what you're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
You would think a normal person would say, oh my God, that's my client. My client said blank, 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 blank. This is news. Boom, right? Not Pamela. She acted like she was openly angry. And then in 2021, when I was on the live stream for AESG, the first one, I said something about how we're terminal, how taxing refinancing doesn't done properly and all that. Right. And I'm hearing her in the background screaming at me. And I couldn't make sense of what she was saying, Brenda.
Really?
I'm not kidding you.
Yeah.
I still have it to this day right on this channel. I'm thinking like, what the heck is going on? And I started to call her, and I thought, you know what? I'm not even going to bother. I've got a
Leave that
great
alone
life.
right there.
I
Yeah.
don't need negative. I don't need this stuff. Okay, I just left her alone. But you know, it's that kind of whatever energy is in her. I call it the
Mhm.
devil. Whatever they do, I call it the devil. I'm sorry to say that she may be God fearing, but she hasn't treated a lot of people like that.
Well, she said herself that she's non-anointed. And what does that mean in the biblical world to be non-anointed?
Yeah, what does that mean? Wow, what does that mean? It's the first time I heard about that. What is she? What
You've
do you
never
think?
heard her say that? She
No,
says it all the time. She's the first non-appointed, non-anointed district attorney of Alameda County.
I mean non-anointed. She won the vote.
I don't know what she meant by that. She says it all the time.
Non-anointed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a guess that what she means is she didn't come in with what she sees as a true mandate from white people. You see where I'm going? Okay.
I'm listening,
And,
but that's kind of my concern right there. Go ahead.
right. And I could be totally wrong, but I
Mhm.
have a feeling I'm partially right. That she sees herself as anointed if the white community said, yes, we're on your side. Yes, this is great. Yes, 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 yes. And when she didn't get that coming in, she thought, okay, well, they didn't anoint me, so I'm the champion of my people. But then she served her worst behavior for her own people. And
Okay,
so,
but have you noticed the people around her? What color are they? Look at that picture. What color are the people?
yeah, exactly.
They're
They're
not
white.
black. It's very few black people.
Right.
You go to her
Exactly.
rallies, there's very few black people.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
another thing, what family has ever stood up for her?
I don't know one. But my
Okay.
point is, this is where she's confused, Brenda, in my opinion. Okay.
Mhm.
And I have to say that I hope this ends in an era where we have black folks fighting black folks in the Bay Area. Remember, Kamala was probably part of that. You know, it was Pam Price that wrote a missive against Kamala Harris a few years ago.
Right. And then
You
she
know,
was her champion all of a sudden.
thank you. Okay, and
Mhm.
there's too much of that. And if we anyway, you're supposed to be talking a lot more than me. Hey, what's going on here? Let
Well,
me hear this.
early on, I offered support. I met with her staff. I met with Christina Molina, who has since quit, and she needed to quit. Cynthia Chandler,
Wait, why do you say she needed to quit?
because she was over the victim witness department.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you saw the videos that we had posted on our page about Pamela Price's had her own resentencing directive that she wrote up that they were
Mm-hmm.
going by, that some people were being resentenced after 2 to 3 months.
Right.
Well, that was Christina Molina. She was the director.
Oh, I remember now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
she
yeah,
quit.
yeah.
Cynthia Chandler was on there as well. So both of those ladies was at the meeting that Pamela Price had with the families.
Hmm.
None of them ever said anything. None of them stood up. None of them did anything. They just act like it never happened. I met Cynthia.
Did they nod in approval like some sycophants do?
What?
When the person who's doing the thing that you don't like
Hmm.
is talking, yet you work for them, you might say, "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah," or like the assistant that quotes the coach, like absolutely, or something like that. Right? I think there was one. There's a bunch of movies that have that kind of little
Uh-huh.
imitation of the coach, and then the assistants, and who's
Mhm.
really a sycophant,
Right.
and he just repeats everything the coach says. Right? Were they like that?
Yeah. But disrespect is disrespect. And if you played a part in it, then you just as bad as her. Just like Desmond, when he went on TV and called me Brenda Grisham 6 times, said the families were a violent gang. And then when we asked Pamela Price to fire him, she said that he was exercising his rights as a citizen. What?
Yeah.
He works for you. He works for you. And on that day, the Alameda County District Attorney's tent was out there with Protect the Wind paraphernalia. So he was working for you. And she did nothing about it. So that means she didn't care about them families. Them families are still traumatized about that. I talked to a mother about that this morning. You know, them out there talking about rape. Yeah, these families are still traumatized by that. You lost your children, and you have somebody out there telling you to raise your kids. You should have raised your kids. That's why your kids are dead. You should have raised your kids. That was disrespectful.
Yeah, that's. Oh.
And she thought it was fine. She thought it was fine. You know,
and to do it under a title is wrong.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know, because he came at me first. The young man came at me first when I first got there, and he walked up to me. He said, "Oh, I know you." He said, "Yeah, I seen you on TV. You big mad because somebody killed your child." I took myself to the corner, and somebody took pictures of me sitting in the corner. I went up and I let my security deal with him, and I sat in the corner because it would have never been a rally. It would never been a rally because he was about to get socked in the face.
Yep.
You don't tell nobody that.
No.
You know, but then he continued.
Folks watching, she didn't actually mean she was going to hit him, except maybe she would have, but then that's provocation, which actually is against the law.
What, to hit him?
No, it's against the law to provoke you.
Absolutely. Yeah. But then, you know, later on, somebody did hit him because he wouldn't stop.
Who hit him?
One of the fathers, because he told him that's why his son was dead, because he didn't raise his child.
And the guy clocked him. Is there a video of that? I want
Yes.
I mean, seriously.
It was on TV.
It was what?
It was on TV.
Which channel?
Channel Dalim. What channel is Dalim on?
That's CBS.
Yeah.
So they have a video of this guy clocking.
Yeah. Me kicking off my shoes, running down the stair, all of that. I mean, he got into it with a couple of people. He just kept on and kept on and kept on. And so it, you know, that's what happened.
So Brenda, I got to ask you what you think of where from, in your opinion, do we go from here, and should we go from here?
Well, first of all, it's going to be a very long road. We have a very vast amount of victims, not just families that have lost loved ones, people that are traumatized by getting mugged or getting bipped. I mean, there is a large amount of people that need to feel safe. It's going to take a minute because the things that she's done cannot be undone. The people she's let out can't be unlet out, you know. And by us not knowing anything, because I reached out and did a public records request to find out how many people have been charged, how many people have been convicted. That's the biggest question. How many people have been convicted of crimes? Because you could charge people all day long. So when she say, you know, they charge all of these crimes, well, how many people have been convicted? Because I sit in the courtrooms and I could tell you what's going on firsthand. And that's the best way to do it. If I want answers, I need to go and find out myself. A lot of people were not held accountable. I was in court, and this young lady, she did 5 strong armed robberies in one day. She got 60 days in Santa Rita. That means strong armed rob. That means she had a weapon, and she robbed 5 people, not in 5 days, but in one day.
I'm also responding back to Fourth Girl up here. Fourth Girl asks this question. I'm going to respond back to this.
Okay.
First of all, Fourth Girl asked this. I don't think Fourth Girl is even a girl. Did you start the recall of DA Price due to do a personal interaction? This is so poorly written. That I almost want
it was overall. Families were coming to me because I've been doing this work for 13 years, before the interaction with the families, I had interaction with her via email to get her to meet with this group of mothers. And even with that, I just chalked it up that her personal skills just weren't good. But then I have a lot of friends that have lost children, and people calling me, BG, why you didn't tell me my daughter's killer was out? What are you talking about? I didn't know nothing about that. And then it grew and grew, and people were coming to my office, and other agencies were reaching out, and the stories grew and grew. And then I decided, because we didn't start the recall till July. Nothing was going on in February. I had other stuff going on. I was fighting for LaRon Armstrong. So Pamela Price was not even on my radar, except for, in February, I didn't talk to her till March. I met her in January, actually, at an event that I spoke at. So when she went on Oakland side and said she don't know me, and she ain't never met me, that was a blatant lie. We spoke at the same event for Martin Luther King, and her and Antoine walked up to me after the event, and she gave me her card and told me to call her.
And something,
she
folks,
said
if
she's
you read
never met me.
62, you'll be better off than reading Oakland side. But anyway.
Yeah. It's because when what happened was I got a call from a reporter, and it's like, well, Ms. Grisham, we haven't seen your response to Pamela Price, her comments. I said, what are you talking about? He said, oh, it's in the Oakland side. I said, don't nobody read that. And he said, well, I'm going to send it to you. And he sent it to me. I was like, what? I mean, many people have seen her and me in the same instance, and she publicly said, I've seen, we've been in several events together. I was in, you remember when Everett Jones got robbed? So they had a town hall meeting, and that was after me and her talking via email. And she walked in and she said, hey, Brenda Grisham. And she said it loudly where everybody was like, what was that all about? But she don't know me. She actually met me. I'm kind of lost here. As an advocate, there's no such thing as just personal. It's not personal. Somebody had mentioned the other day, one of her people said that I don't never mention my son. Well, my son don't have nothing to do with this. My son was killed almost 14 years ago. What does this have to do with my son? It's not personal. And if it's personal, then you're in the wrong fight. You got to be fighting for other people.
I think, can I take a stab at that too?
Yeah,
I think what people forget is that the nature of law enforcement is personal. Someone getting arrested, that's a person arresting a person. That's personal contact. That person could choose to do so legally, or they can choose to violate the law and beat someone. They can choose to do so for reasons that are racist, which is also against the law, or they can follow the law. But it's personal, right?
Yeah. I mean, not personal for me. It was personal for all the people that were affected, because a lot of people.
But I think what is meant by personal here is that if someone, let me take this from another angle. If someone does something to you in law enforcement, that is a personal contact.
Right.
Right. In the case of the district attorney now recalled, how she handled each of the mothers that lost their kids.
Okay.
That's personal.
That is absolutely personal.
But it's also within the framework of her job.
It is.
And so when Fourth Girl says, is it either a personal or overall performance? Fourth Girl, how the DA treated mothers like Brenda Grisham is part of her performance. You understand? Okay? So you can't separate them.
It's actually all three. It's the interaction with not just families, with business owners and things of that nature, and then the overall performance. Being a district attorney doesn't mean that you come in and make your own personal laws to be governed by. You have to go by the laws of the land. You can't just include them when you feel like it. That's not the way that works, because you could be getting it wrong. And in this instance, she got it all wrong and never chose to change course. you could be humble and turn around and go the other way and say, okay, this is not working. Let's go back to what I'm supposed to be here for, and it's the people. Then she had people in her office. I've heard DAs tell families, I don't work for you. At least you got a win. Well, I didn't get a win. He's not charged with my child's murder. How is that a win? I mean, I've had to, kind of talk to some DAs. Like, I know you didn't just say that to her. I understand that you have to get a check, but you don't disrespect people that have lost their children in that manner. And he actually quit the next week. I asked him, how do you sleep at night?
Good.
How do you sleep at night? I mean, I've heard DAs talk to these mothers and fathers like it was, they just talking to people off the street. And I could never, ever imagine that they go home and go to sleep.
Oh, and if I may, are the people that they're talking to all black or mostly black?
What, the DAs?
Yeah. When they address
DAs?
this, when they address when the DAs address the people that they're talking to, are the people they're talking to mostly black?
Yes. Yes.
See, and so I think that gets down to something I was talking to you about off camera. It doesn't matter the color of the DA,
right?
But psychologically, I think it's okay to save their worst behavior for somebody black.
Yeah, but that comes from
that's psychotic. Okay.
Well, they weren't like that. I've worked with the department before, and the DAs weren't like that. The advocates weren't like they are now. One told a family. We were at a resentencing case. I had never met the family, and I got called because they didn't have an advocate. They found out Thursday that the person was being resentenced on Monday. And all the advocate had to say to them was, I dropped the ball. What do you mean you dropped the ball? That just didn't come up. That date didn't just come up. It should have been, they should have been aware. They should have been able to get legal counsel and find out exactly what was going on. I dropped the ball. Because I don't go in court and I tell people that I was running a recall. I was just there, I'm just there. And it was funny because I was in a resentencing case, and the public defender, when he figured out the judge wasn't going to resentence the killer, he said, well, I just want you to know the leader of the recall of Pamela Price is in the courtroom. And the guards start cracking up because I had sat before that judge before, and I always sit in the same spot. I don't come in and say, I'm Brenda Grisham, I'm over the recall. I'm working with these families. I'm advocate, but some people recognize who I am and some people don't, but he did. And he made it known in the courtroom. And, and the funny thing was the DA that was working on the case, she didn't know who I was, but she came to me and the victim. And because the victim, it was a resentencing case as well, and I've sat through a few of them. And she mentioned the interaction with the district attorney's department from before and now, because they were not informed that this person was going to get resentenced. And I got a call from, can I go with them because they didn't have anybody? Well, Pamela Price said she's increased the advocacy department by 38%. We're going to go back to what I just said. They didn't have any advocates with them. So I went to court with them. What I do is I ask them to send me the motions and everything so I know about the case because I had never met them. So I'm reading the victim witness statements and everything. And so when they went and talked about the victim witness statement, they made mention the fact that they were not informed by the DA's department. And, the lady waited till the last minute to get in touch with them. But in her statement, she said that they were non-responsive. And in their records, it said, we're older. Can we would like for correspondence to be via email because we have the same phone and we have hearing aids. But she put that they were non-responsive. So in all of this time, you said you were calling them, but then 3 days before the case, you was able to email them. So she walked up to me and the sister-in-law, she's like, oh, I heard your statement and, I'm sorry you misunderstood. I said, she didn't misunderstand because I read the same email. You were trying to make it seem like they weren't responding, that they didn't want to have anything to do with this. So when the guy said who I was, if she could have used the bathroom on herself, I think she almost did because she didn't know who I was. She had just told, no, she said it was her first case. It was her first time. So when I looked her up, she was a public defender. Your first case should not be a a LWOP case, because he had life without possibility. He was sentenced to death.
Ooh.
And so that shouldn't have been your first case. And she said, this was my first time. And then when he said who I was, she was like, she turned like 5 colors because she had just told me that she was inexperienced. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's not good as well. The inexperience of the people that are working on behalf of the citizens is just not right.
No, not at all. Hey, so what do you want to see happen to the department, and who would you like to see run the Alameda County District Attorney's Office?
Well, on a personal level, I don't know anything about that. I don't know, experience wise. I never wanted to get into that part of it. When they passed Measure B,
wait, do you want to run it?
Heck no.
I'm just getting that off the table.
No, not at all. They need to make sure that the people qualify. She was a civil rights attorney, so civil rights and what needed to be in your sight was totally different, because she stands up and says stuff that I'd be like, well, that only carries 25 years, and that carries 25 years, and that carries 10. So where'd you get 165 years from? Because I could tell you, because I asked somebody that's gonna weigh the options and that's gonna bring an even balance. The system is never going to be perfect, but right now it's one-sided and it needs to be balanced.
Let me ask you, what would you think if the San Francisco District Attorney decided, hey, I want to be the Alameda County DA? Would you be supportive of that?
I don't know. I don't even know her. So that's kind of like the same question when they talk about Chesa Boudin. I didn't know nothing about that. I don't live in San Francisco. I didn't know nothing about no recalls. And I was like, what is these people talking about? I haven't really paid attention to her because I've been kind of busy over here. But from what I hear, it's a lot of people that want that position.
Yeah. Brooks, I thought I'm on a press release train, but then of course I'm on the press release train of the Prime Minister of Canada too. But my point is, so and the Prime Minister of England and whatever, and the White House.
You got a lot going on.
Yeah. So having said all that, from what I've been able to see from a distance, I think she's done a fantastic job given the circumstances of San Francisco, where like Oakland, San Francisco's forgotten how to do economic development. And but not to the extent of Oakland. In economic development, drives people down there. It drives the reductions in crime. Right. It makes it more fun. All that good stuff.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. So San Francisco didn't recover with the pandemic with wrong policies, and so now it's paying the price.
But she said it took her 2 years to even get to a level of functionality, from Chesa Boudin. And Pamela Price was way worse than Chesa Boudin. So in that perspective, it's going to be hard work, and they have to be geared up to it. And, because the next thing is for 2 years, you're just going to be just getting your feet wet in 2 years.
But, in defense of Chesa, and I say that because I supported Chesa.
Okay.
But I did so in a calm environment. What I mean by that is it was 2019, 2018. Economy was good, as you know. It was pre-pandemic. And Chesa could rightly run on the ideology he ran on, which was, hey, we have to be certain we're arresting the right people and making the right decisions, okay?
Right.
But something happened after he won election. The pandemic, and we had 3 months of bliss, 3 or 4 months of bliss, where people were getting their PPP loan money or their Trump money, or both, or their enhanced, or their economic injury disaster loan money, right? Which all should be grants anyway. But remember that, and then everybody was staying in because the businesses were closed.
Right.
So you had this place where the savings rate was super high because no one was spending any money and they were getting money, right?
Right.
And the crime rate was super low because no one was going anywhere.
Right. Because everybody was at home.
Right. And then after about 4 or 5 months of this sort of thing, it just went boom, literally.
Blew up.
Yeah. And Chessa was caught literally flat-footed and didn't adjust. And he didn't turn from being the soft, let's all pet the animals kind of DA,
right,
to the hey, I got to make some arrests here because people are doing some bad things DA.
Yeah,
right?
you got to make some serious decisions.
Right. He wasn't that guy. Now, Pamela, having said all that, Pamela should have watched that and known, hey, you know what? I got to change because I'm dealing with a pandemic. I'm dealing with these crimes that are hard to solve. I have to liaise with economic development. Something I talked with our former DA, Nancy O'Malley, about, who completely agreed. And at the meeting of that organization, Lake Merritt Breakfast Club. Yeah.
Okay.
Which has a racist tinge to me. But at any rate, it just does. I blogged about it. I'm not going to let that go. Sorry. Okay. So anyway, but Nancy O'Malley was stellar, and she agreed there should be a message between economic development and all these other changes. My point is that neither Chessa nor Pamela adjusted, and in Pamela's case, she was bullheaded about it.
Yeah,
and you can't do that. You can't talk down to the public. You can't talk down to mothers who lost their kids, especially. I mean, I can't believe I have to say that and remind people of that. Doesn't that hallmark of a sick society? You have to remind people, hey, by the way, they lost their kids. Shouldn't you be nice?
But if you go back and look at pretty much all of her public speakings or her videos, there was always this tinge of something that you just couldn't put your finger on it. She was always coming at somebody in every single one of them. There was never anything about her real plans for what she really was doing. That was never explained.
Managing the division, managing the department.
Right. It was always a dig at somebody.
Right. Telling us what your objectives are and your goals are. Seneca says, yeah, hey, Seneca, what's happening? And, and they said, send me a link, I'll join. You want Seneca to join?
He can join.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. Just had to check in, Seneca. Hold on. Okay. Let me send him an invite by this. And then I got to check on my mom, too, because I think what's happening is once he comes in, I'll figure it out because I want to make sure she's okay.
Okay.
That's why I like to do this downstairs, but I'll figure it out one day. Actually, one day I did do it and it was just fine. So whatever. Folks, if you're wondering why I'm blabbing this way, I'm a caregiver to my mom, although she would say she's a caregiver to me. And I would say we're caregivers to each other because mom needs me down here. And when your mother becomes elderly and your father becomes elderly, you better take on your responsibility. I will come out of my grave and get you. I'm not talking to you.
Yeah, you gotta do it.
Everybody that's watching, absolutely.
Yeah. Take my hats off to my brother. He took care of my mama for 12 years and raised the family and worked.
There you go. All right. Okay, Seneca. So I just sent that to you. You said email. Hey, Edward, I'm going to have Seneca in, but having you and Seneca is too much. So it's no offense to either one. You guys can come on separate, together another time. But this is supposed to be her show, right? So, Brenda, it's your call though. If you want to have both of them, great.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, hey, hold on a second then. All right. Hold on a second. Seneca says email. All right. And I love you guys. Okay. So, piss me off. But anyway.
The main thing that kind of bothered me was because I just looked at a letter from the ACLU and they were talking about they want somebody to let children be children.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've been working with the juvenile department. I'll be going to Washington in December. And there are some laws that really need to be changed in the juvenile system to hold juveniles accountable, but don't interacting with hardened criminals, because they don't need to be with hardened criminals, but they still need to be held accountable. So it's called a Tay community, and there's nothing for them. If you have a young man that killed 4 people in the span of 30 days and he's only getting 7 years, and the other 3 murders are going to be run concurrent to the first one, that's never going to teach him a lesson, because he'll be on the street before he's 25. And what does that show? And it's no give and take, and nobody has went that extra mile. It's okay for children to be children, but us adults didn't have good childhoods, so we can't blame it on how you were brought up. And if your mama whooped your butt, and you just had to take it. It was a reason why you got your behind whooped. And that's what I'm hearing a lot. Well, they had a bad childhood, but he unloaded a clip in a newlywed because he had stole a car and they got into a little fender bumper. And when the guy asked for the insurance, being a responsible citizen, he unloaded the whole clip in that man. That's unacceptable. And
Seneca, check your text, Seneca. Thanks, bro. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Jen. Go ahead, Brenda.
A lot of people really just don't know what just really happened. Because I'm still hearing the first Black woman and this, that, and the third, even with Chantal, the first mom or whatever she is, it's always this racial thing that's just really not fair. They just didn't do their job. So we need to get past the fact that they didn't do their job and get somebody that's gonna listen. You gotta listen. You gotta be engaged with the community. And if you can't engage with other people except for your posse, your folks, and your boys, you're not in the right position, because you gotta listen.
You gotta go.
On that note, I want to welcome my friend Seneca Scott. Congratulations.
Thank you, Vinny. Hey, Vinny, we were just over in another stream, me and Edward, but here's what we were looking at. I'm going to show you. Here's what we were looking at. 2 things. Oh, I don't know if I can present my screen. I just tried. Okay. All right. So, the first one. So the first one I want you to look at is the other one. Go to the other one.
I see. Hold on a second. That's weird. That one.
So this has who voted for the recall.
Mm-hmm.
In Oakland. We know that outside of Oakland, most people voted for the recall of Pam Price. But Brenda, this is for you. Because we've been getting attacked and we've been getting smeared that we're against the people and we don't have the people's interests in mind. But I'm looking at 61% of District 7, Deep East Oakland, a little country called Deep East Oakland. Everyone can say is the non-gentrified area. I'm looking at 77% of District 7 voting, because, Pam Price is Black, so, people are going to hold their sister down. Right. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to the mayor of Oakland, 77% of District 7 and 70% of District 3. And the only district that did not vote for both recalls being D1, the North Pole, and the only district that resides the majority above the 580, it looks to me that progressives are gentrifiers.
Hey, please, can I borrow that one?
District 3 and District 1 are where progressives are consolidated.
Right.
And those are the ones who are voting for these gentrified candidates. Meanwhile, Deep East Oakland, District 5, where Fruitvale is, all the places where the people reside, are clearly voting for what we say. How are we the sellouts and they not the sellouts, and they with the hill hippies and the gentrifiers in D3? I just want somebody to make sense of it for me. That's all.
Wow.
You got me a North Pole, man.
You made history, Brenda. Congratulations.
You got me a North Pole, man. Oh my God, that was hilarious.
It's been a hard road for both sides because the tax, because people just don't understand. It's different over here than it is over there.
Right. Hey, folks, do one thing. You keep explaining. Yeah. I got to check downstairs. I'll be right back. Yeah.
Okay.
This is great. I just want to do a little home care here real quick. I'll be right back. But keep talking. Keep talking.
Okay.
I got my phone so I can hear you anyway. So.
Okay. So how you feel?
I'm good. What you think about this budget?
Whoa, I was trying to yeah, that's kind of interesting. That's interesting.
We have to have it solved by the 31st, or we're done, apparently.
The 31st of this month?
If you look at, the guy said, no, December. I'm sorry. The guy said, if we don't have a plan by December 31st, then what we're going to start cutting, we're not going to have enough time to make the adjustment to escape bankruptcy in the fiscal year in the summer. Do I have a question for you? I'm taking over Zinni's show. I'm the new host. I'm the host now. Zinni, you can take over. What do you think the next mayor of Oakland needs to be doing right now to position themselves to win?
They need to really, really focus on what the problems are and see how, if they can really fix it. If they can't really fix it and get the city back on an even keel, they shouldn't even try. Because once you get in there, it's a whole lot different than, running and talking. You're going to have to look at them books. You're going to have to look at your staff. And so you got to be a people person. You got to be very, very intelligent because you're responsible for a whole lot of people, their livelihoods, and the mistakes that you make is going to be mistakes in their lives. And you just got to be, focused on coming in and making Oakland whole, which is going to take a while. So they got to know they're going to have to work because it's going to take a minute.
I'm hearing that people are looking for someone. This is just the talk around the scuttlebutt, if you will, that people are looking for someone who is like, I don't want to run again in 2026. I only want to be here for 2 years so I can aggressively make whatever unpopular decisions need to be made. And then that way I don't have to worry about re-election because I don't even plan on running. Do you think there's some credibility to that approach? And if so, are there any names that you think would be appropriate to take on such a mission? Or do you think it would be better off to have someone who is here for the long term, who also presents solutions and wants to run again in 2026?
Yeah, they got to be in for the long term because it's going to take 2 years to get, to get your foot on the first step. So you got to be able to do those 2 years and then go forward to keep what you've done, moving forward. The people dropping the ball, that's not going to serve the city any purpose. You got to, even with the district attorney, they got to be ready to, not just for the next 2 years, you got to be working to be reelected, to go to the end and, see the things through. We don't need nobody that's playing basketball and when they miss the basket, they ready to, get out the game. We don't need that.
Okay, so you want someone who's in it to win it for the long haul.
Absolutely. Yep. That's the only way it's going to work, though, Seneca. It's not going to work any other way. And unfortunately, like we all know, Chantal was on city council. So going into office, she knew what the city was up against. And she really should have been prepared for that because city council, you're working on the budget. So she was a pro temper or whatever that's called. So she knew what was going on. You had no plans?
So it looks from the looks of it. It anyway. It looks like everybody's pointing fingers at everybody else, and everybody has enough legitimacy in their core argument that is causing, here's Zinni's back. It is causing some confusion. So Zinni, let me start the question over.
Sure. I was just checking my mom and make sure she saw this because it's on television now. You can watch. Hey, folks, if you have YouTube on your television, you can watch Zenni 62. Just type Zenni, and keep in mind the guy who has Zenni Optical stole that name from me. He owes me money. His wife said so. True story. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, Seneca. What are you gonna say?
Okay, so Zenni.
Yes, sir.
Budget talk.
Yes, sir.
It looks like everybody's pointing the fingers, and everybody has enough legitimacy to try to form a coherent argument. I'm gonna give you my thoughts on the budget first. There's something that's not being said that I think people are avoiding on purpose, and it's making for a dishonest argument. First is, because you had a show on this earlier, a lot of money, millions of dollars is owed to the city of Oakland in business tax revenue. But it comes to less than 5% of total. So that's not going to solve it, but we do need that money. But it's not going to solve it, but we do need that money. I think people are putting too much emphasis on that to deflect. Mm-hmm. Second, I think the police, because they get the lion's share of the budget and they're over budget, so it's fire, it's also over budget. Two things about police being over budget. First, there's not a single elected official who have asked the question, does OPD need more resources and more police, would answer no. They're all going to say, we need more police. We have less than 700. We need to get more police because CHP is, they all say we need more police. So if you need more police, but Oakland OPD's got too much money, that only can mean there's an efficiency issue, not a personnel or having too much, an abundance issue. The lack of efficiency to me lies in a consent decree in the NSA, because every hour you spend doing additional paperwork, you wouldn't have to do otherwise. There's an hour you're not doing your core function. And there's a lot of hours you got to fill out paperwork every time you fight. It's been 20 years. 20 years of the NSA, 21 years of the NSA and counting. Mm-hmm. At what point do we acknowledge that this is draining our budget and could be partially responsible for the bankruptcy of Oakland? Second, and I'll end it here with some, would you let you take over because you're back, it's your show again. I took your host duties over, Zinni. You get them back.
I think you're right.
The 2014 negotiations between SEIU 1021 went to a strike. How do I know that? I'm the one who was the East Bay negotiator, East Bay leader for SEIU 1021, and did those negotiations and led that strike. At the time, I didn't understand we were undoing long-term structural fixes that were put in place by Gene Kwan and Lamont Uwo.
Right.
I didn't understand that that's why SEIU dropped support for Gene Kwan and started supporting Dan Siegel, because they were upset about that deal that they were forced to take. This is my hypothesis. Bringing us to now, you got to address the NSA, because that's why OPD is inefficient. Yes, they're spending too much money, but it's because of the consent decree. Number two, we need to address the overcompensation of public sector employees unions. San Francisco has a higher cost of living. There's no reason we should be paid more than them. And that's a difficult conversation to have, because unions are putting a lot of money and time and energy in positioning the electorate to rubber stamp their compensation packages to the detriment of Oakland. And here's another one no one's talking about that I would love for someone to talk about who's running for office. Bring your ass back to work.
Stop sitting at home.
San Francisco did an audit and found out that a significant number of employees had got second and even third jobs illegally. Mm-hmm. I bet you the same thing's happening in Oakland.
Of course.
We are not getting the best of our employees. And second, a business
maybe somebody was selling like Oakland data to hackers.
I don't know. We can hypothesize. But I will say this to wrap it up here, right? Downtown businesses depend on revenue from people, the hundreds, if not thousands of people who work for the city of Oakland, who travel. That's part of our local economy. And so removing them has added to the downtown business exodus. So there are other contributing factors to why there's no reason not to bring, there's every reason to bring people back to work and no reason to allow them to continue this telework. And people need to be honest about that. And one more thing, I know I said that was the last one. One more thing. We got 10 elected offices, 11 elected offices, 8 city council, a mayor, a city attorney, and a city auditor. With the exception of a city auditor and the city attorney's office, every one of them got too many staff. You could cut 1 or 2 staff from each of them and save a couple $1 million right there. What they be doing all day? They don't be doing shit. Get their ass up out of there. Anyway, that's what I have to say. That's Seneca Scott's budget fixes. Real quick, I'm not running from there, but if I was, I would be telling people that right now. Thank you, Zenny, for the platform.
Brenda, your thoughts?
I just have a comment on the police. So here's my thing about that. You know, everybody keeps talking about the police are over budget. Well, I kind of 1 and 1 have to make 2. If you have enough police officers on staff, then they don't have to work overtime. And you save millions of dollars. What is not? You got officers that are working 14 hours a day. Some 6 days a week. You know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense. Why? You just get the right amount of officers. That's cutting millions and millions of dollars because the few that you have don't have to work overtime because it's people to cover their shifts. And that's just never an argument. That's always, well, the police, they spend more than their budget. Well, get enough of them and they won't spend more than their budget. Yeah.
All right, my take
and
on
people
this,
do need to come back to work. They do.
My take on this is, I think, first of all, I'll just say it I'll try to say it in a simple way. This is 2024. Last year, I found a document online, serendipitously, that was a draft infrastructure financing plan for a not created Howard Terminal Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District. And if you don't know California law, you have to establish an infrastructure financing district first and then do your infrastructure financing plan. Well, someone had hired Century Urban, the city did, and paid them, I think, maybe $500,000. They had hired them before when they made a terrible mistake. This consulting company did. It was based at any rate. But they made a terrible mistake the first time with Howard Terminal in that you're given 45-year bond period. And I think that's Edward at the below. And
hey, Edward said Adam.
I see him. I'm trying to lower this. There he is. Hey, Edward, stick around. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me.
We got it. Hey, I'm glad you're in. Folks, I texted, get your ass in here.
Like right now.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. So anyway, the first stab at Howard Terminal Century Urban took was they didn't use the entire 45-year bond period. Now, what is that, folks? It means that if you're using tax increment financing, you're starting with a base year and you're going out 45 years in the future. Each time the assessed value is going up, and each year you subtract the assessed value for that year time from your base year. You get the increment and you take your rate, multiply times that, and that gets you the rate. Okay. If you think about that formula, it's actually a doubling formula. It's very powerful. A lot of people don't recognize it because they don't do the math to see that, hey, look, this is an accumulating formula. So, and it's great because you'll say, what's the significance of that, Zenny? Well, the significance is that it helps you fight or have revenue in case there are perturbations in property taxes because of what? Recessions and so on, right? Okay. Yeah. So Century Urban, I got after Century Urban something terrible. I made videos. This is back in 2021. You know, I even called them. They wouldn't call me back. I called them 4 times because I was pissed off with them. All right. No, this is a city money. And this people in the city don't even understand it's a city money you're talking about here. And so with the Century Urban, the mistake they made the first time, the reason why they didn't do a 45-year period is because they didn't realize that Howard Terminal is not in the downtown map. All right. They assumed it was. And I said, look, even with the law allowing for a transfer of tax increment from one project area to another, all you had to do was say, hey, look, Howard Terminal is going to throw off $1,600,000,000 in TIF. You bond half of that, that's $800 million. If you assume a 4% rate of growth, then assessed value with just a $2 billion ballpark, and you do ballpark only as the private organization that you're going to base the money on. All right. which shows you the advantage of using a sports facility because it's so freaking expensive. And so, so you could take that and have enough money. You could take part of that and use that for affordable housing. Now, get this. What if you then turned around and added in the $12 billion that Dave Cowell was running around talking about, where he first said it was going to be economic impact? And I texted him. I said, Dave, that's not your economic impact. That's your construction value. All right. This is on the Saturday morning that he did. I heard him on the television. I said, what? I said, hey, dude, I still got the text. So my point is, when they recognized what they were actually talking about, their own doggone project, all right, which is why you should never trust a baseball organization to do its own development. They were, seriously, people like, well, can't they do it? No, they can't. That's why you have specialists running around. Anyway, once they recognized that it was $12 billion, I said, well, Dave, don't you think you should recalculate what the tax increment would be? He never did. So I did it for him and everybody else. It's $9,700,000,000. So guess what? Here we come with Century Urban dropping this draft infrastructure financing plan, finally doing the calculation right. Okay? They didn't take it. They didn't do it 20 years or 45 years and everything else. But when they did it this time, they used a 2% increase rather than, hey, everybody, what's the average rate of growth in Alameda County over the last 7 years? It's 6.3%. So why didn't you use 4% for Oakland? Is your response, well, Zenny does that, and so I'm not going to use it? Isn't that pretty stupid? So they used 2%. 2% got them $5 billion freaking dollars. So you know what? I reran it at 4%. You know what 4% got them? $9.7 billion. You take half that, you give the city its money, and that's it. We could have solved this problem a long freaking time ago, and we used to pay for a lot of stuff from tax increment financing. And everybody's running around trying to, these little play, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. It's a simple answer.
My mic is muted. Zenny, you've been saying this for a year and a half.
A bit longer. Hey, man, you want to know how long I've been after this? Go to Google and type 1996 Oakland redevelopment, okay? And the San Francisco Business Times will note Daniel Ravine wrote about an article about me because I had an article that bond counsel knew was going to work, which is going to clear $4 billion for us. And Dick Speed says, "Oh, I don't know if we want to have all that money." They know it can work.
I don't think most people can follow.
Hold on a second, Seneca. I'm trying to get you guys to realize, as a guy who is unfortunately an old timer now, although I feel like I'm not, all right, that our DNA in Oakland is the thing that's got to be straightened out. We don't want to do big things. We don't want to fix anything. Mm-hmm. We've been dealing with this stuff for decades. Do you understand? Decades. And
okay,
hold on a second. It's just shifting deck chairs. It's shifting captain's chairs in the Titanic. But now what we got with the internet, because remember, I grew up before the internet, right? Is we got everybody has got their own little groups. And everybody groups like, I've got the answer, and I've got the answer. I got that. None of them have the answer. Mm-hmm. It's a simple answer.
Zenny, while you were away, Brenda brought up a valid point, is that you have people that are thrust into office that don't have the qualifications. And what you're saying right now, it goes right over their head. And they're not able to process it because they're not qualified. But they are put in office by special interest because they are doing the deed that they want done. And that is special interest, as in the big national unions, as well as the nonprofit grifters.
Let me stop you right there for a second and ask you a question. Both of you, all of you. Is it that, or is it the fact that the more frightening fact that our ability to pay attention to things has decreased by 4 seconds over the past 16 years? That's actually documented. I mean, our own brains, for a host of reasons, we're not much capable as we were of creating complex legislation and understanding it. So if you can't create complex legislation and understand it, then how are they going to understand anything like what I've done? Or remember Ron DeSantis trying to dismantle Disney? I laughed a big chortle. You know why? Because at 8 years old, I studied and memorized the Reedy Creek Improvement District legislation. And I said, this guy has no idea what he's going into to get into because of the covenant that stops him from doing it. He had to find out the hard freaking way and start all over and get his butt handed to him. And I was happy. It was from this area that wants to divide everybody. It's everything's left and right. So he doesn't want to think about anything, and I'm tired of it.
You're answering your own question, though, Zenny, because then those people shouldn't be in office.
I agree.
They should not be catapulted into those positions. Brenda stated that earlier, and Seneca concurs.
Okay.
But those are excuses for these folks to use. But then if you're not qualified, if you can't take the heat, then stay out of the kitchen. Absolutely. And these folks have been...
They're not going to be qualified. They're there to steal from us, man. Don't you get it yet?
Right. It's the graft.
Seneca's right. No, Seneca is not wrong.
Right, I gotta get going, Cindy. Always a pleasure.
God bless you, man. You got it.
Bye, Brenda. Congratulations.
Bye. Same to you.
Hey, thanks for stopping by, man. All right, yeah. But Edward, it just, this stuff is going on. It's ridiculous.
Okay? But we've allowed it to go on, though. You got to stop with you have to stop with the finger pointing and look at what can we do. Look at the recalls. Look at the recalls. What does that tell you? What we can do when we focus our energy, and we are as diverse as it can be a group, and that's the beauty of Oakland. Is embracing all those differences and rising above, not looking for excuses. We've become an instant family, and Brenda could tell you that. And that's the kind of bond that we form. Why? Because we came together for the greater good, and it feels good. It feels great. And that's
I gotta make an observation. If a movie were made about this, then we'd have to get the lady who How to Get Away with Murder to play Brenda. Who you know I'm thinking about, right? The actress.
Oh, what is her name? I know who you're talking about.
The V. Starts with a V.
You with your movie references, and you kill me.
Yeah. But seriously, this could be a movie, right? You should think.
Somebody actually was just talking to me about
this stuff, man. What are you talking about?
Right. No, I like it. Think outside the box. I love it. Keep going.
And we get Don Johnson to play Edward.
Don Johnson.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Don Johnson.
Maybe it was back in Miami Vice days, perhaps.
You ever watched him on Dr. Octopus, Dr. Oz?
No, I don't know. I'm gonna have to say, Zenny, bring it on back home, man. Bring it on back home here.
Yeah, Doctor.
You went to the left.
Dr.
You've got Hollywood industry on us now.
Because this should be the way this has gone. This could be a great movie.
It's historical. I mean, on a serious note, historically, we've accomplished something, and we've actually broken the back of the democratic machine here that is not being democratic. They are not being representative of the people. But they are not practicing the full healthy aspect of democracy. Everything that we were falsely accused of is basically they were using reverse psychology. Absolutely. And they were repeating lies as if they were truths. Because why? Because if that's what they hear the most in this false messaging, then that's what tends to rule the day. Is it based on truth? No, it's not. But we brought the facts. We brought the reality. How? With the results. The people Brenda, stood up.
You're saying absolutely. You're sounding like one of those coaches we were talking about earlier.
Right. That's why I did
it. Well, why do you say absolutely? Why is he right?
Because look, we worked hard. I met Edward somewhere along the way when he invited me to a press conference, and then it was like 3 Brendas there, right? Or it was 2 or 3 of us.
Yeah, it was not just a press conference. That was the first pushback that we did at the first State of the City address by Sheng Tao. And so that was a momentous occasion that occurred. So it wasn't just any press conference. And I was fortunate to meet Brenda at that time. Actually 2 Brendas. Yeah, confused them actually because I didn't know them.
So I got to say something because both of you are Democrats, right?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, you're not really?
I'm not a Democrat.
But what are you though?
I'm nonpartisan.
You're independent. Okay, Edward, how about you?
No, I'm like, I put it this way. Okay, I'm a Kennedy Democrat and a Lincoln Republican, and both of them
are you registered at all?
You're mixed.
Are you registered?
I go based on policies and not parties. That's what I go based
So
on.
you're not a registered Democrat. You're not registered anything.
So I will go according to policies and the effectiveness of the individual. That's how I go. I don't go based on parties. I don't play partisan politics, and I don't get paid.
I'm a proudly registered Democrat.
Yay!
But
Ain't nothing wrong with
also,
Democrats.
but no, of course not. But this is what gets to my next question.
Yeah.
Why, having all that you all went through and seen what you've seen and done what you tried to do and did, why did Trump win the election and not Kamala Harris?
Because people were ready for change, and they were tired of the false promises and just the talking points that were not generating the results. And that's when it comes down to misusing labels and calling yourself a progressive, and yet you're not bringing progress to the table. You know, I really try to define that clearly, because I don't want to malign any of these folks that truly believe in progressive ideals. You know, Pam Price, they try to say that we were against reform. No, we weren't. We were against her dysfunctional form of reform that was not generating the results for the people and public safety. And you should not have to forego public safety for reform. You should have both hand in hand. And she refused to listen. And it tears my heart apart when I heard the stories from Brenda Grisham regarding the fact that how she would snub the victims of crime. These are the moms who lost their children. How can you do that unless you're detached from reality and you're not doing your job, quite frankly? That's what it comes down to. And so she's no longer in that job for that reason and no other reason. I mean, there was other reasons that came thereafter, of course, but she brought it upon herself, and these are consequences. And as I've always said, God, let there be consequences. And that's what there has been.
Brenda, you want to add to that?
Hey, he said it all. I mean, you know, it came down to that point where it was there was nothing else we can do. You know, she was 10 toes down on I'm the boss, I'm madame, or whatever they called her around the office. Because the first time I heard him say that, I tried to record it. I was on with Christina Molina. And
I wish you had us send that to me.
And they was like, well, madame, I was like, who? And I was like, and then they just kept calling her by that. I was like, oh, okay.
Because she required that.
Yeah. And so, you know, she just kept going full force forward. No matter what anybody said, no matter what anybody did, she just kept going on. And apparently the people that were around her didn't sit her down and say, you know, you might want to think about what you're doing. But they just went on along with it, or maybe they were scared of her, or, you know, that district office is one of the most hostile environments you could even imagine.
She used fear and intimidation on her inner circle folks. And those are the folks that she brought in, ones that she can manipulate, like that she can manipulate. But that's gangster moves.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is.
It is
not successful gangster, but it's, you know, it is what it is. And it's not healthy. Bottom line, it's not a healthy environment to get the job done, because then you lose sight of really prioritizing the interests of the victims. And what is your job there? Her job is the top cop. How can you be the top cop if you have such disdain for law enforcement? Like we had connections with law enforcement, and they would go off the record, and they would tell, when we asked, what are your feelings about Mayor Sheng Tao? What are your feelings about DA Pamela Price? And they would, I got to turn my thing off. You know, we hate those effing bitches. That's you know, that's what was said.
Yeah.
You know, and why though? It's not like these folks wake up and they decide to hate these individuals. It's because they're obstructionists. They were placing obstacles from them being able to do their job. It's a frustration of purpose, which is a legal term. And so what else are they supposed to do? You know, there's no excuse for them not coming out and taking reports and everything. But I honestly want to say we have to look at different forms of community policing as well. We need to have a minimum number that would be relative to like San Francisco, relative to San Francisco's numbers based on the population, correct? But then we also have to embrace this new age of AI. Now, I'm not saying surrender civil liberties because we have to roll that out, but we have to look at crime prevention as a deterrence. We need to engage the community, and that's not what's happening. We need to look at technology and how we can use that. We have to look at thinking outside the box, especially with Oakland going into bankruptcy, how we could still make it work. And it's not sheer numbers, it's about getting the results. And we have to keep going forward and thinking outside the box until we can generate those results. You don't just say, oh, we already got 800 officers. Oh, we already have 900 officers. Is it reflecting in terms of results on the ground? Talk to the people, talk to the business owners.
See,
that's what Brenda and I did. That's what Brenda and I did.
You guys did a great job. Brenda, talk about what we talked about earlier, which is who runs, and I wanted Edward to get Edward's views. Who runs the DA's office from now on? I don't mean in terms of what's going to happen, what you want to see happen. Who should be elected? Edward, you might have an idea. Brenda had a different take, but I thought it'd be good to.
Well, are you talking about the technical, like from now moving forward? Because there's going to be a few hiccups there before we get someone, but Brenda has an idea, and I do as to how it should be handled properly. Right, Brenda? Take the microphone, please.
First of all, Royal Roberts should not be in charge of anything. That's number one.
Say that one more time.
Royal Roberts should not be in charge of anything.
And say that one more time.
Royal Roberts, you want me to spell the name?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be in charge of anything.
Okay.
Doesn't have the experience.
I just wanted to make sure people heard that. So go ahead.
Oh yeah, he doesn't have the experience. Even if it's for 5 days, 5 days can go horribly wrong. And I don't feel that because it's never been done before. So how do you determine who's up next? You can't determine that because our laws don't have any. There's no instructions on the recall of a county official because there's never been one.
Right.
There's not even a timeline on when she needs to be replaced because they never thought about it. And here's the one thing that I looked at.
Don't you think it's ridiculous to have a law and then not think about how it's implemented? Just saying.
Well, since it was never anything,
right?
It's
Seriously.
never been done. Every time there was a step, they never thought we was going to make it. So when we got there, they was dumbfounded. Well, we told you we was fouling, so you should have a plan for when we get the signatures of what's going to happen next. They didn't have that because they never expected us to get 73,000 signatures. But in fact, we got 23,387 signatures, well more than what we needed. And even with that, the demographics of the first count, when he went back to count them the second time, he was going under the state law. So under the first count, he disqualified a lot of the signatures because they didn't put their occupation in. But when he went back to do the 30-day count, he went under a different law. So the occupation shouldn't have been counted. You know what I mean? So that 123,000 should have been still almost 100,000 because, but he still, I don't care if it was one over, as long as we got it done, I don't really care. So,
and to clarify there on that, just with that small little disqualifier of an occupation box, you don't have to be occupied. You don't have to have an occupation in order to vote. You don't have to do that. You don't have to have an occupation in order to sign a petition, just a registered voter, and that's it. So there was no reason to have that box to begin with, but they approved that form to begin with when it went out. And so they required it. And if it was left empty, then boom, by default, it was disqualified. Instead of curing those, they could have cured that, but they chose not to, which then loaded the messaging a hand of the weapon of our opponents, saying, you see, a lot of those votes were not even qualified because they were fraud. There's fraud. And they loaded their weapons against us, which was not true, at all. But yet they repeated the lies over and over again.
And even something I want to respond to.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Brenda. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, even with that, I had asked him over a few times about what were going to be the qualifications for, the counting, and he was like, "Oh, well, we don't have a policy. We don't have a policy." And then mysteriously, one appeared on the page, so we never got the respect of recall, as starting a recall for whenever they did anything to let us know. We didn't even know about Measure B. We found out about that by accident. We found out about he had created procedures by accident. Don't leave it blank, put NA in it. Never said anything about that. You understand what I'm saying? So if
like sabotage.
If I don't have a occupation, of course I'm not going to put anything. Why would I think to put NA on there? And he never gave us those instructions. And so just like now, okay, well, we got what we needed to get her out of office. Now they still have to come up with a procedure in order to replace her. Well, what y'all been doing for 18 months?
Right. It's like they'll cross that bridge when they get to it. It's like you've been knowing, and not just that, at the BOS meetings, the Board of Supervisor meetings, we stood there and we called them out and told them, get ready because it's a coming. So do your job and stop what, but basically we'll cross that bridge when we get there because we just don't see it happening. Deny. And yet it happened. And then some. Super majority, Zenny, super majority. Historically never happened before.
Reminds me of a line from Blazing Saddles when I think it was Harvey Korman and another gentleman were talking about their politicians, and he said, we have to do this to protect our phony baloney jobs. And the point being that, like we're talking about why the recall doesn't have a roadmap to, hey, what happens if actually somebody uses it, right? And it's because it was done it happened politically, and the reason the public officials who were there when it happened never stopped to think about it. They only thought about it in terms of, well, the public got it what it wants, but we'll just leave it alone, and we know it'll screw up because it'll be
just like to have a placeholder there, but not that we're really expecting to use it.
Right,
and that's what it comes down to.
We're just doing it to protect our phony baloney jobs.
That's right.
Okay.
Now
and that Measure B now made it even more difficult to get to that point of getting an effective recall on the ballot, because now you really have to go in with heavy bank rolls in order to get it done. And so it's made democracy.
I know what you mean, but explain to the public, what do you mean by heavy bank rolls?
Well, you have to be an extensive fundraiser in order to do so. And we were fortunate to have a few heavy donors come in, but we had a lot of grassroots individual donors that gave too. But let's look at our economy right now and the challenges that our people are facing right now. They don't have that kind of money to spare. So we are very grateful for certain individuals that on principle, just on principle, with no expectations of anything in return, that are doing the right thing for our communities.
Are you talking?
God bless them. They should have a statue and a parade for these people. Okay.
Yeah. Are you
telling
you Philip Dreyfus specifically, or?
Well, he's one of them, but he's not the only one. But he is a primary person that has done things for the right reasons. President Theodore Roosevelt once said, "Do what you can with what you have where you're at." Okay. And Martin Luther King says the time is always right to do what's right. I mean, this resonates.
I have a question for both of you, because in the Oakland context, this divide situation where, okay, I'll just say it. Not every progressive politician that was targeted, for want of a better term, was hit. In fact, the majority weren't. Shangtao, yeah. Pamela Price, yeah, but Zach Unger, nope. Nikki Bass was leading John Balters, although the votes haven't come in. The latest round hasn't come in yet today.
Yeah, that's what I keep looking for.
What do you mean hit? What do you mean hit? Because we were hitting them in social media. We were hitting them in
And
our
when I
press
say hit,
conferences and
though,
rallies.
I don't mean hit like, you know, pot shots in terms of image. I mean hit like actually do the job of getting them out of office, right? Hit. So I'm talking about a real
Brother, we
old-fashioned
just got
hit.
started with the
No,
recalls.
no, but hear what I'm
And
saying though. Hear what I'm saying though. Okay, but then I want you to respond as you did. All I'm saying is that I was just going through the line. Bowders with respect to Nikki, District 3. Carol Fife is reelected. Okay, District 5. Noel Giles still Noel's not exactly. I don't think he really was really targeting Noel per se. And then of course we have Ken Houston, who's I think Ken. I personally know Ken. He's a buddy of mine. He's a wild card. I think if you know Ken as a wild card. He's not truly a progressive. He's not truly conservative. Ken is. I mean, if there was any person who does personify the song "I'm Just Ken," it's Ken Houston. It's not. Okay, that song was perfectly made for Ken Houston.
For him,
right? Be warned, everybody. Ken is just Ken. Ken is truly just Ken. So my point is that with all of that, why do you think? Because I have my own ideas I expressed in my post, but why do you think you didn't hit it on all cylinders?
well, because the train hadn't left the station completely, and we weren't running all those campaigns. What we ran, we were extremely successful, and that was a super majority that we were able to garner with the recalls. That's what we had exclusive control over. The other candidates and their campaign.
Edward?
He froze.
He froze. I think he said the other candidates and their campaigns were on their own. Edward, come out and come back in. And I think also it's 7:11, so I'm going to have to start wrapping this up.
Yeah.
But,
you said you had a question? Somebody had a question?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's something I wanted to respond to. Edward, come in and come out if you can hear this. Or put me on phone, but give me a text, give me a ping. Because right now you just look like you're frozen. It's like saying, "Cook, where's my Hassenpfeffer?" Anyway, so okay, this person who calls himself Hong Kong French Toast, okay, which says, "I can't wait for the day when Black people dissolve their partisan attachment to the Democratic Party." Now, let me explain why I think that's a ridiculous thing to write. You have to understand the history of the Democratic Party and us. The Republican Party, I was born August 4th of 62. The Republican Party, when I was born, was known for people like, there he is. The Republican Party, when I was born, was known for people like Strom Thurmond. And then, of course, there was the gentleman who, George Wallace. Okay. It was known for people who didn't want segregation. It was known for people who didn't want African Americans to have basic civil rights. And that was in my lifetime. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was signed 2 years after I was born. All right. I mean, a lot of things happened the year I was born. Hey, Rolling Stones were created. James Bond was created. The book that launched the environmental movement was created. Everything was created when I was born that you know of in pop culture. That's true, folks. So
that was in the South. It's a different thing going on than in the West Coast. And,
oh, wait.
look,
James Bond wasn't created in the South, Edward.
No. I'm saying
Yeah, but I did that because you jumped in at the wrong time. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
All right. All I'm saying is that the reason I'm a Democrat is because it was the Democrats who were forming policies and positions that were helping us. Now, were there certain Republicans involved? Oh, sure. Okay. Were there certain Democrats that you could mistake as Republicans now who I admire, like Daniel Patrick Moynihan? Yeah. Moynihan was too smart for his own good. So it was branded as elitist, patrician, whatever you want to say. I had the pleasure of meeting the man at a pizza joint in Washington, D.C. in 1979. My point is this, okay? Democrats stand for making life right for people. Do we get it right all the time? No. Do we make a lot of mistakes? No. Do we get influenced by the wrong people? Yeah. But that's why you maintain a Democrat. You stay in the party, you fight for the party, because the party is the perfect representation of what democracy is all about. Democracy is about arguing. It's about arguing and disagreeing, and then, hey, coming together and saying, hey, by the way, you know what? That pizza's over there is really good. Let's go have some. Or even better, how about that salad with a salmon? That's great for you because maybe you've got, ulcerative colitis and you can't eat certainly. So I recognize I'll eat with you and I'll have what you want to eat out of respect for you as a friend. That's what we do as Democrats.
That's a healthy discourse, and those times have changed. Those times have changed.
We have to,
just like Republicans and Democrats have also flipped. That's why I say I'm a Lincoln Republican and a Kennedy Democrat, and both of them were killed for their ideals. So I don't get caught up in the labels. I did get attacked because it was nonpartisan, grassroots, all-inclusive. Why? Because they're focused on public safety. So I got attacked because, he allowed Republicans to participate. But here's the thing. I had stated that as long as you don't wear any kind of badging or paraphernalia of Trump supporter or Biden supporter, then you come to support public safety. Then we are all inclusive. And that's how I've always been. I've organized with people on the far.
Job. Oh, by the way,
we have as a team have done a great job.
You want to tell how old somebody is? When they think that they know stuff they got off the internet and they post crap like this. It's not that they don't like segregation. Republicans feel the segregation. Like they're so nice. You were not alive. Okay, kid. You were not alive, kid, when this was going down. Don't tell me what was going on. I ought to boot your butt like off here. Okay. With your crap, all right? In fact, I think I will because I don't want to deal with it. You were not alive to know the difference between Democrats and Republicans. You ought to be.
Yeah, clarify that you're talking about the person who just
go back into your crib.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Go back to your crib, sit down, listen, and learn. Okay, but I am not having you on here. I'm tired of this crap. Go away.
That's divisive. That's divisive talk.
Yeah.
And what we've done is we've given an opportunity to unify people and say to come together and rally on the common point of public safety. And what we've always said, if you don't have public safety, you don't have peace of mind in your home. You don't have the comfort and the tranquility of being in your home and safe, because Brenda can attest, there's drive-by shootings that penetrate the walls. She knows, and in her office. And we have concerns for Brenda because there's people that are ex-cons and so on and so forth under the hypnosis of Pam Price, that they're encouraged to do things, acts of craziness, of violence, and that's not acceptable. You know what? Take the loss as she said. It's the voice of the people have spoken. So move on and allow for someone else who's going to do the work of the people, for the people, by the people, as it was intended to be. Done.
Now,
period.
I had to mute myself because my mom chimed in and said, "Don't be like that." So, so with apologies, okay?
Yeah. So we don't get caught up in the labels, because labels can be used to divide people. We embrace everyone. An all-inclusive, nonpartisan, grassroots. It's as grassroots as it can ever be. And look at the results that we were able to achieve. Never has this been done before. And that's when it's kept real. And that's what we've done. Despite the attacks, despite all of the attacks that Brenda received, I've received. And you have to really thicken your skin. Seneca, I mean, I could go on down the line. Carl Chan, Tuan Chris Moore. And some of our other folks that have been valuable assistants in the process that have taken the hits along the way. So, but we've stood firm, we've clung together, and we move forward. And this is how we're able to accomplish what we've done and get the great results for who? For the people. There's no profit motive. There's no ulterior motives and hidden agendas, which was all that they were trying to deflect and distract people so that hopefully the vote and the support would go their way. Well, did it? No, it didn't. Okay? Because they worked from lies and we worked with speaking truth to power, and that bothered them. And good, it should, because if you didn't do your job, which you should have done from the beginning, then this would have never been necessary. But it was. And they brought it upon themselves. So as I said before, let there be consequences. And so it was.
No,
Brenda?
okay. Okay. You said a mouthful. When you don't do your job, you just have to be held accountable. And
Like we would be, right? Like any of us would be.
Yeah.
You don't do your job, then step off. Step off and let someone else step up. But don't ruin it for people of color, because she damaged it for future people of color. Sheng Tao damaged it for Asian females who want to get in there and do something for society, for our communities. They don't understand.
I gotta push back on that, because like Jean Quan, I thought overall
I was
had the
disappointed.
right idea. I think Jean's only problem was that she didn't understand how to connect with the community better. But I thought she had the right ideas. And there are a number of elected officials I think of who are Asian, who are female, who I think would make incredible, as if they wanted to rise up, senators, congressmen, that sort of thing. You got Lena Tam, we've got others, right? So how I don't see, with a large number of when I think of Asian, also Indian American, right? We just had the honor of representing Tara Rishnan, who unfortunately lost to Patrick Ahearns in the Assembly District 26 race there. But I'm encouraging her to run for office again. And then we go, of course, Charlotte, another client who's only 16 media, Charlotte Wang, rose to be number 3 in at large and very close to victory. And had Charlene
Wang.
Charlene Wang. Had Charlene, I always say Charlotte. Sorry, Charlene. Why Charlene? Well, I kind of know the answer to that question. I'm not going to go there. But I'm saying that if Lerone had agreed to team up with her, this outcome could have been different. And
I think it's the other way. It's the other way around. It's the other way around.
Had not called Alan Michon to put Romeo's name on the Grand Lake Theater.
Yeah, it's the other way around. If Charlene had agreed to do an RCV team with LaRon Armstrong, then it would have definitely been a different outcome.
Well, she wanted to, though.
But let's first answer your first question that you said.
Edward,
about
LaRon didn't want to do it. Charlene wanted to do it.
Brenda could answer to that.
What? She got hooked up with Fabian. I don't know how that happened.
No, I do. Because she was one my Zenny 60 Media was her digital content client.
Okay.
So that's why, And so they would also lean on us for political, lean on me for political consultant feedback, right? Which is a first for our company. So, and that's as much as I can. I mean, you can't tell everything, of course, but what I'm telling is, safe. And so
we saw the postings on social media that it was basically vote for her or vote for me, and it was Rowena or Charlene Wang. And Rowena, when people ask you, I mean, LaRon has Armstrong, former Chief Armstrong, had name recognition, and he was in the news. So there was no reason why he would not, in terms of branding, have that exposure. So Rowena, when people talk about Rowena, to me, it sounds like a vacuum cleaner name. And like, that's the only thing that I would say.
That's a beautiful name. A beautiful name, beautiful lady. I wouldn't say that, Edward.
I know, but hey, a vacuum is a very essential tool in the home. It doesn't mean anything other than what I just said. It does sound like that. But that being said, she had no name recognition. So who was she? She's Mia Bonta's minion. Okay. So let's say it for what it is. And she was driven by special interests, national union money, and the nonprofit grifters. She was blessed coming in by Rebecca Kaplan. So if someone's so happy to replace her, then that's where it's at.
It wasn't all that, Edward.
Okay. Well, I've only seen the postings.
It wasn't.
I've only seen them.
Right. You
came from their mouths.
She had a bigger social media ground game. And the big problem in politics is the majority of people that run do not know blankety blank about social media.
I got you.
He's not one of those folks, okay? But the other thing that put her over was simply Alan Michon getting a call from Rob Bonta saying, hey, look, would you put Owena's name on the Grand Lake marquee? This thing is seen hundreds of thousands of times a day. Okay, with her
Yeah.
name on that. Okay, no. If you say
I see.
that doesn't matter, I'm
No,
going.
I didn't say it didn't matter, but to what percentage? Yes, I agree it does matter, but to what percentage?
I will say 50%. I will say 50% of the people that voted saw
Wow.
that sign at some point. You want to know why? The number of people that come off 580 that go on the Grand, right, Brenda? Okay, every day, going to work, going to Lake Merritt, going up the hill, wherever you want to go.
Right at her name.
Right. Or if they're not coming off there, they're coming off the lake shore.
It helps. I don't disagree with it. It helps.
They're going to Trader Joe's and they're going to the stores, right? Or
It helps.
how about on Saturdays when they go down to the farmer's market and shop? They come from all
Agreed.
over the Bay Area, right?
It helps.
That's
But money
huge.
also helps, and influence and ground game, which is what special interest has. They have the door knockers, they have the phone bankers, they have the name recognition through their channels of using the unions and the rank and file and saying vote for them and paying for and issuing the voter guides. So there's a lot more in percentage. I agree with you. However, there is more to that.
No, I agree with you.
Much more.
Beeman here says it seems like by the time we have another election, the candidates are going to have to go on a podcast and tell their story and back it up with facts. Not sure if relying on legacy media will work. Beeman took the words right out of my mouth because that's Lerone. That was Lerone's problem, I felt, folks. That he felt like I've got in the bag because legacy white-owned media is blessing me. Because, and I'll just say this candidly, I had a devil of a time just getting an interview with him. And I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to go out and go on and let them be how they want to be. And then later in the campaign, it was like, hey, Zinni, you want to interview Lerone? Well, yeah.
But Zenny, let's call it for what it is. That's the campaign. There's a difference between the campaign and knowing the man. Okay, the man, the mission, and from being from Oakland and having the heart of Oakland. And when you know that, and once you have a sit down with LeRon, it's amazing and it's transformative. So
right, he's an amazing guy. But what I'm explaining to is that you have a significant number of people in every presidential election who are too young to know. You can't assume 100% knowledge.
Agreed. Right? Yeah, it's messaging.
And who consumes what media differs drastically from
demographics.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a weird outlier. Okay, I've been for like I don't know how long, but I'm weird anyway. Most folks my age group don't even fool around with stuff like this. They're just starting to, or they're learning to. They're just even if they're over 40, they're just getting on YouTube. I got on YouTube when I was 44, but that was 2006, 2005 when I got on Blip TV.
Right.
That was when all of this stuff started. Okay?
It's the early adopters of technology. That's what you're speaking to. And the other folks, hey, some of them, they have their VCR machine with the light, the number still flashing forever, and they never fixed it. They never picked up the pamphlet and how to operate. It was like plug and play, and that was it. We know there's a huge detachment, but moving forward, it's going to be exponential exposure with the new age of AI that we're entering into right now.
I quite agree. Hey, I want Brenda to take us out because we're getting to point. Wait a minute, I'm getting a call from. Hold on a second. Hey, I'm on the air. Okay, see ya. Oh, that was not what I thought it was related to. Good. Okay. I thought it was one of my clients calling me saying, hey, I heard that on the air. And let me which is always fun. Brenda, take us out here because we're did Edward freeze on us?
Oh, yeah. Hey, Edward. Yeah, he did. Bye, Edward. No.
That's wild when that happens. Let's just look. What movie star should first play? Hey, everybody in the comments, what movie star should Edward Escobar play? Or I mean that what movie star should play Edward Escobar? Yeah.
Look at that.
I say Don Johnson. What do you say, Brenda?
He looks like Don Johnson.
Okay, so it's sold, Don Johnson.
Yes.
Right, so Brenda, take us out. What's the next steps? Tell us how you feel about the outcome, and what do you want to see have happen next? And what do you want people to remember about all this?
I was going to answer that question about the legacy, the thing right there. The most important thing to me during this whole recall was going before the public. I said on a bunch of occasions, I can't expect the people to go somewhere that I'm not prepared to go. So I was in a community. I wasn't just relying on them to know me, to have researched me. I wanted them to see me face to face, and we could have those conversations. And it's going to come to that with the next line of people. You know, they're going to have to get out and face the people because of this right here is going to make it more focused, where you're going to have to know how they engage with the public. So they're going to have to go out and engage with the public. They're not just going to have to be on interviews and in town halls. They're going to have to go to the farmers markets and engage with the good and the bad. You know, I had to deal with the good and the bad. The people cussing me out, pointing their fingers in my face, riding by and picking up I had to deal with that because
and getting stalked. Remember that?
And get all of that, and you know, making it what it was and what I was fighting for. You know, it came into a whole picture. It wasn't just this over here. It was good and bad in it, and so I had to bring the balance for the good and the bad. And so, you know, from now on, I think from here, it's going to be that for the politicians that are trying to come into office. They're just not going to take your word for it. They're going to have to see some stuff. You know, you're going to have to engage with people that agree with you, and they're going to see how you engage with people that don't agree with you. Because if it wasn't Chris Jones' mama they was dealing with, if they was dealing with Brenda Grisham from back then, it would have been a wrap. You know, very disrespectful people, very disrespectful. And I want to see the next person that comes into office, both offices, that are able to engage with the public and to bring balance to both offices, because it's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done. And they have to be ready for not the short term. We need somebody that's going to be there for the long term, because you can't drop a ball after you done picked it up. So you got 2 years. You know, we need them people that's going to go past them 2 years.
Well said. Folks, thank you so very much. This has been almost 2 hours of
right.
Listen, Edward, you didn't freeze that time. He just was still. He was just still.
Right. He ain't frozen.
It's called focus.
But Edward,
it's called focus.
During the time you were on ice, during the time you were on ice, we came to a verdict that Don Johnson should play you.
Don Johnson.
Just, unanimous.
No,
Don
Johnson. I gotta.
You about his picture?
In fairness to Don Johnson, I have to put that.
Oh, his most current iteration of Don Johnson.
Or all of his iterations, because I don't know what you looked like when you were younger. So this might be some fun, right? So there it is, right? I mean, there's some similarities there. Okay.
Yeah. I kind of, I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll go with it. I know your Hollywood references, and you're good like that.
No, but look at that one though.
Yeah, we'll give him a white we'll give him a white hipster beard kind of thing, and then
he's already
he'll be good to go.
He's got a Van Dyke in this photograph. He just needs sunglasses. All right.
Right.
Dude, you shave yourself into a Van Dyke. That's it.
Yeah.
I just figured it out.
No, I think I like the hipster look right here. Bam. I think this is good. This has worked for me very well. Thank you. Appreciate your suggestions, however.
And on that, hey, everybody, thank you very much for participating. Thank you, Beeman. Thank you, Cracker Jack, even though I didn't post your note up for obvious reasons. What the heck? No, I don't want to do that because I'm not.
Yeah, do it. What, please?
No, I don't want to go there. I don't. Sorry, Cracker Jack. Just,
I could go on your page and see it though, right?
No, because it's not going to be there. I'll explain when I go off. Okay?
Thank you. Also, Zenny, thank you for bringing attention to these topics, because it's very important. People need to hear like the backstories and how this came together, and on the real, not the contrived stuff or the forced messaging, which is done by a PR person or anything. This is as real as it gets. So thank you, Zenny, for the opportunity to be able to bring that forth
from your car and from your home, and using the technology to get the news to people. And you know, this is something I wanted to do when Phil Bronstein told the people at SF Gate that they should hire me as a consultant or make me in charge of it. And that was back in 2009. I wanted to have a relationship with YouTube and have reporters do this sort of thing. And
you were ahead of your time.
Yeah, but
that's what it was.
Yeah. Anyway,
but now's the time. You're making it happen.
Yeah, because you know what I did? I made a video right after they booted me because I reported that Chris Perry was involved in something he shouldn't have been involved in, but everybody else, it was in Gawker too, okay? And I made a video saying that I was going to beat the Sound Score Chronicle in Oakland. From a video perspective, I've done that. So,
and we need to hold social media platforms accountable, like Nextdoor and Facebook, because they've done hyper censorship that's overreach.
You know the best way to fight that, Ed? Build your own build your own platform.
How about protests and press conference? That seemed to work very well for us. Yes, it has, sir. Even when you check ChatGPT and then ask them as to what was the successful formula for the recalls, and it mentions that as one of the points. So,
but
yes,
with respect to tech platforms, all you're doing is bringing more attention to them. Like, as a guy who owns a tech platform, I love it. You bring attention to my platform.
Right.
Everything, okay? Because it makes
I get what you're saying. Good publicity, bad publicity is still publicity. But this is the type of publicity that they wouldn't like. Especially my ability to be able to do it in 2 languages, Spanish and English. It's been very effective. Watch me, brother. Watch me.
Edward, I met the minders of Nextdoor at TechCrunch. I know them. I'm trying.
Okay, nice that you know them. However, watch me.
It works. No,
I've taken on Uber and have defeated them in courts, so I know that the formula works. No,
let me give you a concrete example of what I'm talking about. Maybe this will hit home. Okay, fellow I know and respect asked me, Paul Cobb. Long story short, we had a deal where I would help them essentially gain or put the Oakland Post back on Google News, among other things. And long story short, I did a lot to really improve their search engine optimization. But along the way, I became more of their staff than not, and wound up being, well, frankly speaking, into places where I didn't want to go. Okay. And I thought, I'm not going to achieve what I want to achieve here. So and Paul didn't understand what I was trying to do. So I built OaklandNewsNow.com in 2018, and I built all the systems I wanted to, and I overtook them. And then he got it. Okay. You have to build your own platforms today, is what I'm getting at.
I think it's part of a formula, and I agree with you. I won't disagree with you on that. But it also takes the resources, and it takes time to build that traction and to scale that. Whereas we could do a press conference and rally from one day to the next. I've proven it. We've done it. Brenda knows we've done it successfully between our whole team.
More his rallies.
She says that, but she will. Oh, she will. You watch.
You seen the one with Ray Bobbitt, right?
But that was beyond my control, though. That was a whole other aspect. And you notice I brought it back under control. Okay.
They still talking about me.
Well, he will. Of course he will, because that serves his purpose. But the reality is, we started it, we finished it, and we got it done, and we blew it up in the media. So it got a lot of traction. As Zenny said, good publicity, bad publicity, still publicity. We won the war of messaging at the end of the day. So thank you very much. Back to you, Zenny. You want to wrap this up?
He's talking to his mama.
Okay.
Hey, thanks everybody. This has been fantastic. I'll close the stream with a red button. You guys don't have to make a move. It's been almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
All right. All right. And so I ended that stream.